You ever look at a brand new building or even just something on a shelf at the store and really wonder, how did that actually get here? Not just how it was put together, but the incredible, complex dance of planning, budgeting, and buying that had to happen way before that. Well, that's what we're going to unpack today, because if you understand that process, you understand how the modern world is actually built.
So let's start with just one number, 98%. It's a massive, almost unbelievable figure. What on earth could it be referring to?
And there it is. A staggering 98% of large construction projects end up going over budget. And a huge reason why is that they just get the costs of the physical stuff wrong. The equipment, the materials, the whole shebang. For any business, getting this wrong isn't just a small mistake. It can sink the entire project, and sometimes even the company itself.
So today, we're going to build a kind of blueprint for understanding how smart businesses avoid that fate. We'll kick things off with the production cost problem itself. Then we'll break those costs down into pieces. After that, we'll see how a simple recipe turns into a real budget, look at the engine that runs the whole plan, and finally, explore how companies go out into the real world to get what they need. All right, first up, the production cost problem. And let me be clear, this isn't just some boring accounting exercise. We're talking about business survival. Seriously, miscalculating what it truly takes to build something is one of the absolute fastest ways to fail.
And get this problem is only getting harder. Thanks to inflation and all the supply chain chaos we've seen, the cost of essential machinery has just exploded. It's up more than 30% since just early 2020. That means that little cushion you had for making mistakes in your budget, yeah, it's pretty much gone.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? This isn't a minor slip-up, it's potentially catastrophic. Underestimate your costs, and your entire profit margin could just, poof, vanish. You could even lose money on the job. So the billion-dollar question becomes, how do you get it right?
So how do businesses get it right? Well, it all starts with a simple but really powerful idea. You have to break down your costs into two basic categories. Because it turns out every single physical thing a company owns, from a truck to a computer, has two different financial sides to it.
On one side, you've got your ownership costs. Just think of these as the fixed bills you have to pay simply for the privilege of owning the thing, whether you use it or not. That's stuff like insurance, storage fees, and depreciation, which is just the value it loses over time. Then, on the other side, you have operating costs. These are the variable ones. They go up and down depending on how much you use the equipment. We're talking fuel, maintenance, and of course, paying the person who's actually running the machine.
Let's make this super real. Say you own a standard backhoe loader. Your ownership costs for the year, just for having it parked, could be over $18,000. But your operating costs, if you're using it a lot, can shoot up to almost $23,000. When you add it all up, the business can see the true cost of that machine is over $51 an hour. And that's before you even pay the person to drive it.
Okay, so once you really understand your costs, the next move is to actually plan for them. This is where we shift gears from just analyzing numbers to creating a real, honest-to-goodness financial blueprint for making things. And the absolute foundation of that blueprint is something called the Bill of Materials, or just BOM for short. Honestly, the best way to think of it is as a recipe. It's a super detailed, step-by-step list of every single thing you need, every chunk of raw material, every little component, every last screw, to make just one of your final products. And right here, this is the magic connection where the plan starts to become real. The Bill of Materials, that's your technical plan. It tells you what you need. The direct materials budget, that's the financial plan that flows right out of it. It tells you exactly how you're going to pay for all that stuff. And here's what that looks like in practice. Check this out. A company, let's call them Knots and Grains, can look at their sales goals, say they want to make 500 cutting boards in month 3. Using their BOM, their recipe, they can calculate precisely how much maple wood they need to buy. This lets them build a budget that predicts, okay, we're going to need to spend $43,500 that month to hit our target. No guesswork. Okay, so you've got a solid plan and a budget that makes sense. But how do you actually, do it? How do you execute that plan without everything going haywire? You need an engine. And in the world of making things, that engine is called the MRP system.
This whole system is designed to constantly answer 3 questions that sound simple but are actually deeply complex. Day in, day out, it's asking, what do we need, how much of it do we need, and exactly when do we need it?
The system that answers those questions is Material Requirements Planning, or MRP. The best way to think of it is as the smart digital brain of the whole operation.
It takes your final production goal, like make 500 cutting boards, and it works backward. It uses that recipe, the bill of materials, to figure out every single part you'll require, and then make sure it all shows up just in time, not too early, and most importantly, never too late.
So how does this engine actually run? Well, it's basically a four-step process that's always in motion. First, it estimates demand, using the BOM to break the final product down into all its little pieces. Second, it checks inventory, asking, okay, what do we already have on the shelf? Third, it schedules everything, mapping out the exact timing and resources needed to fill in all the gaps. And finally, and this is key, it constantly monitors the whole operation, automatically throwing up a red flag about any delays or problems before they turn into full-blown disasters. Now, having a perfect internal system is one thing, but every single company still has to go out and deal with the messy outside world to get its supplies. And that brings us to the final, crucial piece of this whole puzzle: procurement and market strategy.
This is really the critical handoff, right? Your fancy MRP system knows exactly what you need, down to the last nut and bolt, and exactly when you need it. But now, you actually have to go out into the real world and buy all that stuff. How do you do that without getting burned?
Well, it's not just about finding the cheapest price on the internet anymore. Smart companies these days are all about building strategic, long-term relationships with their suppliers. Why? Because a reliable partner who has your back is worth way more than a cheap one, especially when there's a crisis. They also diversify their sources, so if one supplier in one part of the world has a problem, it doesn't shut down their entire business. It's really about weaving together a whole web of strategies, from software to relationships, to safely navigate a very complex global market.
So let's just tie this all together. When you look at the big picture, it really comes down to three pillars. First, you need a smart plan, one that's built on a real understanding of your costs and a detailed budget. Second, you need a powerful system, like an MRP, to execute that plan with machine-like precision. And third, you need a savvy market strategy to handle all the curveballs the real world throws at you. Get those three things working together, and you have a truly resilient operation. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world full of supply chain shocks and crazy inflation, just having a plan isn't good enough anymore. The real question every business leader has to be asking themselves is this: is our operational blueprint built to be resilient? Is it truly built to last? Because believe it or not, the answer to that question can affect the price and availability of almost everything we use and buy.